This is the man who pulled off the only successful skyjacking in U.S. history.
When he got on a plane in Portland, Oregon last night, he was just another passenger who gave his name as D.A. Cooper. But today, after hijacking a Northwest Airlines jet, ransoming the passengers in Seattle, then making a getaway by parachute somewhere between there and Reno, Nevada, the description on One Wire service, master criminal.
After his demands were met and the plane took off for Mexico, Cooper did the unthinkable. He lowered the back stairs and jumped out of a speeding 727, thousands of feet over the Pacific Northwest.
Hello, my name is Caleb Johnson of Tribe Broadcasting, and I'm here to tell you about one of America's most elusive criminals. 1971, a big year in history. The 26th Amendment was ratified, lowering the voting age to 18. The Vietnam War was still raging and having Americans protesting their involvement. Disney World opened, and President Nixon was a year away from the Watergate scandal that would end his presidency. But another event happened in 1971. On November 24th, the first and only successful airplane heist occurred with a nationwide manhunt for the culprit, standing next to Amelia Earhart and Jimmy Hoffa as the biggest missing persons cases in the U.S. His name, it is...
D.B. Cooper. D.B. Cooper.
D.B. Cooper.
D.B. Cooper.
D.B. Cooper.
D.B. Cooper, also known as Dan Cooper, is the alias of an unknown man who's responsible for the only successful airplane heist in U.S. history. The date is November 24, 1971. A man appearing to be in his late 40s, standing 6 feet tall, purchased a ticket for Northwest Orient Airlines Flight 305. Shortly after his takeoff in Portland, he handed a flight attendant a note. The note was simple, yet terrifying. He claimed to have a bomb inside of his briefcase, which he showed the flight attendant, confirming what he said. The bomb contained numerous wires, red sticks, and a battery. Cooper demanded 4 parachutes and $200,000 in $20 bills. This is worth about $1.2 million today. The passengers weren't aware of the situation, as DB had the flight attendant communicate with the pilots. Once the plane landed in Seattle, the 32 passengers were released once money and parachutes were provided. He kept 2 pilots, a flight engineer, and an attendant on the plane, and once the plane was refueled, he ordered them to fly to Mexico City. DB gave detailed instructions. The plane flew under 10,000 feet and at a speed slower than 200 knots. Around 8 p.m. between Seattle and Reno, Nevada, Cooper lowered the rear steps and jumped with the money, the bomb, and a parachute. There was a storm that night and he had never been found.
A family reported recovering a bag containing 5,000 decomposed dollars.
In 1980, a young boy found $5,800 in cash on the banks of the Columbia River in Vancouver, Washington. Investigators checked the money and confirmed the cash carried the same serial number as the money given to D.B. Cooper.
This discovery, a torn, tangled parachute found by some children. It was sticking up from the ground near an area being graded for a road, found in southwest Washington state.
In 2008, children found a parachute outside their home near Amboy, Washington. Investigators took it to investigate it. A month later, it was sadly confirmed to not be D.B. Cooper's, as it was the wrong material and design.
The FBI now says a parachute found in Washington state is not the one used by infamous hijacker D.B. Cooper.
FBI agents found a clip-on necktie on the seat DB was at. The FBI found the tie had been sold exclusively at JCPenney's department stores, but was discontinued in 1968. They sadly couldn't find any links to buyers. On April 23, 2013, Earl J. Cosey, who was responsible for packing the 4 parachutes that were given to D.B. Cooper, was found dead in his home in Washington. The cause of death was labeled homicide by way of blunt force trauma. Many people have theorized D.B. Cooper was responsible for the murder, but no evidence has linked it.
Who do you think that D.B. Cooper is?
Well, I'm certain he was my uncle.
Marla Cooper is the niece of Lynn Doyle Cooper, the alleged D.B. Cooper. Marla broke the story on ABC that she believed her uncle was D.B. Cooper. She said she overheard her uncle saying on Thanksgiving that he had solved their money problems. Investigations began with the intentions to find fingerprints to match with the partial ones from the plane.
Lynn Doyle Cooper.
Wow.
Who we called L.D. Cooper.
And you're kidding me. Cooper as in D.B. Cooper? No, this is not an alias.
No.
You believe that your uncle was D.B. Cooper?
Yes, I do.
Nothing was ever disclosed if they found anything. While the thought of just pinning the mystery to a woman's uncle sounds enticing and would finally give us an answer to this 52-year-old mystery, but sadly, she didn't give any evidence other than her family saying it was him. No evidence to prove he did it means this is another false end to the mystery. There were many copycat cases similar to D.B. Cooper's hijacking. Richard McCoy Jr., a former Army Green Beret, hijacked a United Airlines plane and bailed out of the plane with $500,000 in ransom money. He landed safely and was arrested 2 days later. Frederick Hanneman used a handgun to hijack a plane. He demanded $303,000 and eventually parachuted over his native Honduras. A month later, the FBI caught him. D.B. Cooper has become very popular in pop culture. He's been referenced in many songs like Chuck Brodsky's The Ballad of D.B. Cooper, and Kid Rock's Bad with the Buh contains a reference to Cooper. Robert Rackstraw was a former U.S. paratrooper. A paratrooper is a trained soldier who is trained to parachute into a military operation. His military training of parachuting led to many suspecting him of being D.B. Cooper, and using his parachuting skills to successfully parachute out of the plane and survive. Rackstraw was discharged from the U.S. military after serving in Vietnam. Many suspect this to have motivated him to carry out the hijacking. This wasn't a man with a clean record, however. Rackstraw had a lengthy criminal record, having arrests for bad checks, falsifying military records, and domestic violence. He was even charged at one point of murdering his stepfather, but was acquitted by a jury. Rackstraw also attempted to fake his death in 1978 by crashing a rented airplane into Monterey Bay, California. However, he was found out and arrested and spent 2 years in prison for this crime. In 1979, the FBI began investigating Rackstraw, but ultimately ruled out as a suspect. There were theories that Rackstraw was a CIA Black Ops agent. The theory goes that the CIA made sure he wasn't investigated thoroughly by the FBI. However, there was no official evidence to suggest that he had any affiliation with the CIA. Rackstraw always denied being D.B. Cooper when pressed about it, often giving vague answers to the questions which arose more and more suspicion. I personally believe the closest suspect is Robert Rackstraw. A lot of the evidence fits him and he had the expertise to pull off the heist. Despite all the info we have, the case might be unsolved forever.